From rags to riches. The shocking dance invitation that changed this girl's life forever. In a crowded gym, the scent of sweat and hope mingled in the air as the clock ticked down to the start of the big dance auditions. Lila stood at the back, her heart pounding like a drum, eyes fixed on the polished floor where the best dancers showcased their skills. She was no one special, just a girl in thrift store clothes, gripping a worn-out duffel bag that carried not only her dance shoes, but the weight of dreams too big for her small world. Then it happened. A hush fell over the crowd. Everyone turned, breaths held tight, as a tall figure with an aura like a Hollywood star strolled through the gym doors. It was Vanessa Cole, the dance prodigy, and the director of the prestigious Summer Dance Academy. Lila's stomach knotted. Could she even be noticed among so much talent? But just then, as if the universe conspired in her favor, Vanessa's gaze landed on Lila. The whispers rippled through the crowd. "Who is she? The girl with the frizzy hair and scuffed sneakers?" Lila froze. The whispering felt suffocating. The eyes, oh the eyes! They were all judging, measuring her worth like she was on display. "Wow, that girl has something," Vanessa explained, pointing directly at Lila, and the room erupted in chatter. "She dances like nobody's watching." The attention pulsed like a living entity, wrapping around Lila's tightly wound nerves. Could it be an invitation? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the invitation floated in the air, Lila felt a thrill clawing its way out from her chest. She had dreamed of this moment of being seen and chosen, but fear also crept in. Would she mess up? Would she even belong in a world of glitzy dancers and high expectations? The weight of doubt threatened to bury her as she stepped closer to Vanessa, heart racing like it wanted to leap right out of her body. Yet, just as hope glimmered at the edge of her consciousness, the overwhelming pressure of reality struck. Wait, what if I ruin everything? Those words echoed in her mind, darting like arrows of panic. A lingering silence followed as Vanessa smiled, the kind of smile that promised adventure and change, while the crowd buzzed with anticipation, their curiosity palpable. And there it stood, Lila's moment, hanging like a delicate thread. She was about to either seize the day or let it slip away, her future teetering dangerously on a knife's edge. What would she choose? Lila inhaled sharply, drawing in the weight of the moment. The world around her faded to a blur, the chattering crowd becoming a distant hum. All that mattered was the undeniable connection forged in that fleeting glance with Vanessa. "You can do this," she whispered to herself, summoning a deep reservoir of courage. With newfound determination, she took a step forward, feeling the sweat trickling down her spine. Each footfall was an echo of her heartbeat, pounding louder with every advance. The floor resonated under her lightly scuffed sneakers, and for a brief second, she felt lighter, like she was dancing on air. Suddenly, a voice broke through the tension. "Lila, isn't it?" Vanessa's voice cut through the silence with a honeyed tone, drawing everyone's attention back to her. "I'd love to see you perform." Whispers erupted around her again, a swirling storm of intrigue and envy. Who is she? Did she just get invited to dance? As Lila stepped into the circle of the floor, she felt her footsteps falter. Everything felt too big, too bright, and those eyes, oh those eyes! They were all on her now, scrutinizing every inch, every move she contemplated. Even thoughts fled from her mind, replaced with a haunting dread. What if she stumbled? What if the judges didn't see what Vanessa saw? Her hands trembled slightly as they brushed against the worn fabric of her duffel bag. She suddenly thought of her mother, the sacrifices made for dance lessons she could barely afford. Would it all amount to nothing? Go on, show us what you've got. Vanessa's encouraging words wrapped around Lila, pushing her forward like a gentle hand on her back. Resolutely she took a breath, shaking off the doubts like she was shaking off a heavy cloak. The music started an upbeat tempo that sent adrenaline coursing through her veins. Lila could feel it wash over her, shifting her nerves into excitement. Her legs responded instinctively, and she began to move. With every spin and leap, Lila poured her soul into the performance. The world transformed, colors converged, every beat resonated within her. She became the embodiment of hope and dreams, breaking free from the self-imposed chains of insecurity that had weighed her down for too long. But just as the dance reached its crescendo, an unexpected crash resonated through the auditorium. One of the gym's large banners had fallen from the wall, startling everyone. For a second, silence blanketed the room once again, tension snapping like a taut wire. Lila's heart raced even faster as she fell out of rhythm, losing her focus. This was her moment, a moment she could no longer trust. The whispers returned, murmurs of worry and confusion mixing in the air. Was that part of the act? What is happening? Lila glanced towards Vanessa, desperate for reassurance, but the expression on the director's face was unreadable. Did she get her chance, or did she just blow it? As the echoes of cheers faded into uncertainty, Lila felt a shiver run through her. The invitation was within reach, yet the ground beneath her was crumbling. What did this sudden turn of events mean? If she could only reach deep down for that last spark of courage once more. But now, the stakes felt higher than ever. With a shaky breath, she took a step back, the weight of the audience's expectations heavy on her shoulders, as they waited for her next move. What would she do next? The decision loomed, filling her with both dread and electrifying hope. Would Lila fight back and reclaim her moment? Or would she let fear steal her chance? The air crackled with uncertainty, as all eyes locked on her in breathless anticipation. Lila felt the world shrink around her, as the hum of the crowd morphed into a suffocating silence. Time seemed to distort. She could hear her own pulse thumping like a war drum. Every eye in that auditorium was riveted on her, judging, waiting. The overwhelming gravity of expectation threatened to swallow her whole. She could still hear Vanessa's sweet voice cutting through the tension, but it felt hazy, distant now. "You've got this," it was a mantra repeating in her mind. But doubts emerged like shadows creeping into her heart. What if you messed it all up? Gritting her teeth, Lila shook her head, as if to dislodge the negative thoughts. Suddenly, she recalled all those late nights practicing in front of her worn-out mirror, the bruises from falls, and her mother's encouraging words. Every step brings you closer, Lila. The music's upbeat tempo pulsated through the auditorium, sending a jolt of adrenaline into her system. Could she turn this moment around? The whispered criticisms morphed into a backdrop for her decision, pushing her to reclaim the floor. Just breathe, she thought, letting the rhythm wash over her like a warm tide. It emboldened her, plunging her deeper into a determined resolve. Lila's body responded just as it had countless times before, fluid, alive, instinctive. She jumped back into the spotlight, feeling the rush of air as she leapt into motion. Lila flowed through her routine, this time pouring every ounce of passion into each move. Her body spun with purpose, and when she landed, it felt like she was grounded again. The audience seemed to shift, their anxious murmurs morphing into awed gasps. With her newfound confidence, Lila executed a pirouette, her arms outstretched like wings. The noise faded once again, the world narrowing to the vibrant concurrency of movement and music. The joy of dancing flooded over her, battling the weight of fear. She could almost see her mother's proud smile in her mind's eye, urging her forward. Then, just as she prepared for her grand finale, another crash erupted from the back of the auditorium, this time followed by an unrecognizable scream. Eyes darted toward the chaos, and Lila's heart froze as she lost her footing once more. What was happening now? The expressions around her morphed to shock and apprehension. Hands covered mouths, and nervous whispers started to rise like smoke. Is everyone okay? Lila thought, an icy shiver running down her spine. Instinctively, she looked for Vanessa, who had slipped from view. A wave of uncertainty washed over her. Was Vanessa okay? What if this chaos was disrupting everything she'd worked for? A sickening feeling churned in her stomach at the thought of missing this chance, the only one that could change her life. The crowd's focus shifted, eyes glued to the exit where a young girl had stumbled onto the stage, holding her arm and wincing in pain. Lila's breath hitched. Oh no! Could she finish this dance? Could she really step up and confront both the fear within and the panic now escalating around her? Time seemed to stall as she contemplated her next step. Did she have it in her to absorb this moment of chaos and keep moving forward? As the echoes of tension hung in the air, apprehension thick like fog, Lila stood on the precipice of choice once again. With everything at stake, she had to decide not just for her, but for everyone watching. Could she rise to the occasion, or would she let fear pull her back into darkness? The daylight flickered as possibilities swirled, narrative threads ready to unravel. Lila stood at the edge of chaos, her heart hammering in her chest, battling between the urge to rush to the girl in distress and the need to reclaim the spotlight that had been hers just moments ago. The world blurred around her. The girl's arm hung awkwardly, and tears sparkled in her eyes, a mixture of pain and fear. Lila felt a wave of empathy wash over her. Memories of stumbles, falls, and the pain that came with the joy of dancing swirled in her mind. The audience was frozen, a sea of wide-eyed spectators collectively holding their breath. Whispers erupted, spreading confusion like a wildfire. "What happened?" someone murmured, barely audible over the music that had faltered into an awkward silence. Lila's instinct screamed at her to help. She took a step forward, feeling the weight of the moment crash upon her. "Stop thinking. Just act," she whispered to herself. But just as she moved to help, a thought tore through her. What about the competition? What if she lost her chance? Panic tinted her resolve, but that internal conflict only lasted a heartbeat. She shook her head and rushed toward the girl. "Are you okay?" Lila knelt beside her, all thoughts of dancing fading away in the face of someone else's pain. The girl winced again, clutching her arm as if it might somehow alleviate the sharp sting. "I think I fell. I don't know." Before Lila could respond, a deep, booming voice cut through the murmurs. "Someone call for an ambulance!" The director of the event, a towering figure of authority, stepped forward, his brow furrowed in distress. That snapped Lila into focus. A decision crystallized in her mind. "I'll stay with her," Lila said, her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding her. Her own dreams faded momentarily, replaced by a greater purpose. She cradled the girl's hand, a gesture of reassurance. "You're going to be okay. Just breathe," she coached, feeling an unexpected calm settle over her. Right now, this moment wasn't about Lila or her dreams. It was about helping someone who needed it. Around them, the atmosphere shifted. The spectators exchanged glances, still caught in the web of shock but slowly leaning in a collective breath held, awaiting resolution. The backstage crew rushed forward, a medic among them sporting a blue uniform. "What happened?" he asked, getting on a knee beside them. Lila felt the girl's grip tighten. "I fell off the stage," she managed through tears. The medic assessed the damage. "All right, stay calm. We're going to help you." He directed his attention to Lila. Can you keep her still? Yeah, Lila assured, the gesture feeling right even as the heat of the audience pressed against her back. And yet, as the medic worked, Lila's heart began to echo with an unsettling truth. Her performance was over. She would lose her chance to shine. But then she caught sight of the admiration in the audience's eyes, seeing something shift not just for the girl but for her act of bravery too. Were they not witnessing something just as vital as a dance? Stronger than any pirouette. A blend of emotions roiled within her. While her dreams felt crushed under the weight of reality, something unexpected blossomed, a sense of fulfillment, a new potential waiting to be explored. The medic finished, securing the girl's arm. You'll be okay. Just a sprain. Nothing serious, he reassured. Lila exhaled, relief flooding through her, as the girl managed a weak smile. Thank you, she whispered. Before Lila could respond, the sound of thunderous applause erupted from the audience like a manic wave. In that moment, she felt seen, valued, not just for her dancing but for her choice to step up. What was that? The medic asked, glancing at the crowd. And just like that, the realization washed over Lila. The journey she thought she was on had taken a sharp turn. This wasn't just about her performance anymore. A new chapter lay ahead, one that could weave kindness and strength into something extraordinary. As the applause continued, Lila's pulse quickened not from fear, but from a stirring hope. What awaited her beyond this moment? Little did she know, forces were stirring in the background, setting the stage for a revelation that would change everything she thought she knew about herself. Lila sat beside the injured girl, the applause washing over her in waves, yet her heart raced with uncertainty. The realization that she was no longer competing weighed heavily, but in a way that felt liberating. Then, suddenly, the noise around them shifted. The crowd's whispers morphed, taking on a new tone, a hint of excitement filling the air. Wait, is that her? Someone in the audience exclaimed. Lila glanced up, confused. A tall figure stood at the edge of the stage, silhouetted against the stark lighting. It was Lena, the event's esteemed guest judge, known for her keen eye and quick decisions. Lila had dreamed of impressing her one day, of capturing her essence in dance. But now, all she could do was stare as Lena made her way through the throng, her stiletto heels clicking sharply against the floor. The medic stood quickly, stepping back as Lena approached. What happened here? She asked, her voice calm but strong. Everyone else fell silent, the atmosphere tinged with anticipation, a tension that seemed to curl in on itself. The girl spoke up, still teary-eyed but determined. I fell during my performance. Lila came to help. She stayed with me. Lena raised an eyebrow, visibly intrigued. And you stayed despite losing your chance to dance? Lila felt heat rise to her cheeks. The question hung heavy between them, not as an accusation but a test. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. What could she say? Yes, I wanted to help, she finally stammered, fumbling for the right words. It felt more important than the competition. A murmur swept through the crowd. It wasn't just Lila's choice that struck them. It was the authenticity behind it. They were witnessing a moment far beyond mere performance, a moment of growing courage and connection. Lena nodded slowly, considering. Lila could feel her gaze searching, probing for something deeper hidden beneath her hurried words. Lila's stomach twisted. Had she made the right choice? Would the judge see the potential that had started to bloom within her? I appreciate what you did, Lena finally responded, her tone softer. But there is also something else we need to discuss. This abrupt ending, it doesn't have to be the end for either of you. The crowd leaned in, drawn to the conversation like moths to a flame. Lila's heart raced. Could she still have a chance? Lena continued. I'm offering you both an opportunity to perform a duet at the benefit showcase next month. An event where strength and kindness shine brighter than competition. Gasps filled the air. Lila blinked, her mind struggling to catch up. A duet? With this girl? It could give her a chance to dance again, to shine, but what would it mean for her solo aspirations? Think about it, Lena added, turning to leave but not before flashing a smile full of promise. And remember, true artistry sometimes reveals itself in unexpected ways. As Lena retreated to the back, Lila felt the weight of the world shift yet again. The idea of pulling off a duet filled her with excitement and fear. Would she be able to support this girl and find her own light? The girl turned to her, hope flickering in her eyes. "What do you think? Should we?" Lila took a deep breath, aware of the shivers of her own uncertainty. Yet, beneath it all, an ember of ambition ignited. Was this the twist her life needed? "Let us do it," she replied, words bursting forth. "Let us show them what we can create together." But as Lila uttered those words, a sharp pain shot through her chest, an unease lingering. Was she ready for this new path? The applause still rumbled in the background, but as the shadows deepened, so did the questions. What awaited them on this journey? And just as she contemplated the unknown, a shadow fell across her, darkness whispering secrets that were yet to unfold. Lila squinted against the fading light as the shadow loomed closer, a wave of dread washing over her. It wasn't just her partner's injury weighing on her. It was the feeling that fate had tilted slightly off balance. The applause faded to a dull roar in her ears, drowned out by the quickening cadence of her own heartbeat. "Did you really mean it?" the girl asked, her voice trembling, eyes wide with both hope and fear. "About the duet?" "Yeah, I mean," Lila stumbled over her thoughts, the looming shadow now taking form beside them. It was Lena again, her imposing presence brightened by the stage spotlights. "Exciting, isn't it?" Lena said, allowing a slight smile as she leaned closer, her tone conspiratorial. "You two have the chance to create something special." But remember, she stepped back, her gaze now piercing. "Nothing worthwhile comes without a cost." A chill crept up Lila's spine. The crowd had begun to chatter again, their whispers morphing into a strange kind of energy that wrapped around them like a storm. She glanced down the aisle, catching snippets of conversations that seemed to revolve around her name, her decision, her chance. The girl next to her nudged Lila's arm gently. "What do you think she meant by cost?" "No idea," Lila replied, but her stomach twisted as if it understood the precariousness of the situation better than her mind did. As Lena walked away, more shadows emerged, faces mingled in excitement and curiosity, razor-edged gazes picked at Lila like thorns. Each seemed to question her choices, to press their expectations deep, and the complexity of their scrutiny filled the air with pressure. "Maybe it's just a performance for a great cause," Lila said, though her voice was barely above a whisper. The words sounded like a lifeline, but they also carried a weight that made her cringe. If fulfilling a duet could lead to potential fame, what would that change her into? The injured girl seemed to sense Lila's hesitation. "We can do this. Just think about it," Lena was impressed. "We can make something beautiful together, something beyond competition." "Right, but what if—" Lila paused, drawing a sharp breath, suddenly aware of the churning feelings inside her. "What if I'm not good enough? What if this doesn't go the way we hope? Or it could be everything we dreamed of," the girl challenged, eyes brightening with conviction. "We can't let doubt hold us back." In that moment, Lila didn't see just the girl near her. She saw herself. The girl's enthusiasm pushed at her walls, beckoning her to accept the invitation Lena had dangled in front of them. Could she really mold this opportunity into something tangible, something triumphant? The crowd shifted, and the dimming lights began to prompt dancers to leave the stage. With a sense of urgency filling her veins, Lila stood up, taking a step towards their uncertain future. "Let us talk about routines then. How do you want to start?" But as they turned to leave the stage, the atmosphere thickened, a sudden tension snapping like a taut wire. Amid the bustle, Lila caught a glint of something. A note slipped under the medic's abandoned bag, barely visible to the crowd. Curiosity pulled at her. "Hold on," Lila said, walking over to the bag without thinking, her feet almost moving on instinct. As she picked up the note, she quickly glanced around to ensure no one was watching, her heart racing again, almost in sync with the scores of vague faces now fading into the background. It felt like uncovering something crucial. The note was folded tightly, its edges frayed. With shaky fingers, she unfolded it, and her breath caught in her throat. It read, "The truth you seek is hidden among the shadows. Meeting at midnight. Bring your partner." "What is it?" the girl asked, drawing closer. "Let us just say," Lila's voice dropped to a whisper, a mix of fear and adrenaline coursing through her. "This might be more than just a dance." As they looked into each other's eyes, a fresh wave of uncertainty swept through Lila. What awaited them at midnight, lurking in the shadows? The suspense gripped her like a vice, and swept her into the unknown. Midnight arrived with an unsettling quiet, the world suspended in a chill that clung to the air like unspoken secrets. Lila's heart thudded in her chest as she stood outside the theater, shadows stretching along the pavement, thick and foreboding. The note felt heavy in her pocket, a reminder of Lena's cryptic words and the unyielding stakes that had spiraled into a whirlwind of urgency. Beside her, the girl shifted nervously, the excitement that had once saturated her eyes now dulled by doubt. "Are we really doing this?" she asked, biting her lip, uncertainty becoming their achingly familiar companion. "Maybe it'll be just a talk," Lila shrugged, though deep down, she could feel the weight of their destination urging them forward. "What is the worst that could happen?" Famous last words, the girl muttered, her voice barely above a whisper. They stepped closer to the alleyway where the meeting was supposed to take place. The moon bathed everything in silvery light, illuminating graffiti on the walls, fading colors, and messages that seemed to echo the urgency of their own escape from something greater. A feeling of imminent change thrummed in the air around them. It was electric, charged with possibilities and hidden dangers. As they reached the dimly lit corner, Lila spotted a figure draped against the wall. The darkness concealed everything but a glinting smile that curved under the beams cascading down from the street lamp. Lila's breath caught. It was Lena. "Right on time," Lena said, her voice smooth, possessing an eerie calm that sent a shiver down Lila's spine. "I thought you might be scared." "We're not scared," Lila shot back, trying to project confidence, though her insides twisted and turned, unhappy at the lie. "I believe you," Lena replied, her eyes sparkling with mischief. "But are you ready to dance?" The girl beside Lila's shoulders slumped. "Is that all we're here for?" she asked, glancing at Lila. Lena waved a hand dismissively. "Not just any dance. This has the potential to change everything." "But remember the cost." She let the words trail off, letting silence build in the air between them, thick like fog. Lila felt panic rising in her throat. "What do you mean by cost?" The term had become synonymous with dread in their conversation, a dark cloud overshadowing their dreams. Lena stepped closer, her tone lowering conspiratorially. "Every opportunity has a hidden price. Your fear is almost palpable." "Stop!" Lila snapped, clutching her partner's arm as she sensed the girl's looming hesitation. They had come this far together, and that bond had to mean something, even in the face of fear. "What do we get out of this?" "Well," Lena began, her eyes gleaming with a predator's delight that depends on how far you're willing to go. "Are you prepared to push beyond your limits, embrace the unknown?" "We're ready," the girl said boldly, though her quivering lip betrayed her. "Good," Lena replied, her smile stretching wider. "Then let us begin." The words hung in the air, steeped in an unshakable tension. As Lena gestured toward the alley, Lila felt the world around her dim, the echo of the theater's applause fading into an eerie silence. It wasn't just a dance anymore. It felt like an invitation to a deeper darkness, one where the costs might not be tangible but emotionally steep. Just as they were about to step inside, a crash echoed from an approaching vehicle, headlights slicing through the darkness. The girl gasped, pulling Lila back. "What was that?" she whispered, her eyes wide with fear again. Lena looked unfazed, a smirk spreading across her face. Just a reminder that the world beyond those shadows can be chaotic. In that moment, Lila's heart raced at the thought of turning back. But what if the dance brought something they'd not anticipated? What if it was a way to reclaim what almost slipped through their fingers? The uncertainty coiled tighter, wrapping around Lila's chest. They had reached a crossroads, a choice between the light of safety and the dark allure of a potential transformation. "Ready to see what you're truly made of?" Lena asked her. Voice laden with mystery. Lila's breath caught, and just like that, the tension snapped. What lies ahead in those shadows? What truths would they uncover? With one final glance at her partner, Lila took a step forward into the unknown. The thrill and dread merged, and Lila realized tonight was just the beginning. But could they handle what they would find? The alley swallowed them whole, darkness pressing down like a heavy blanket. Lila's heart raced as her eyes adjusted, straining to see past the thick black. The air grew dense, buzzing with the unknown, and the hairs on her arms stood tall. Lena stepped confidently, drawing the two girls closer inside, her laugh echoing against the brick walls. "Don't worry," Lena said, her face half-shadowed. "It's just the start of the dance." But each word dripped with something more sinister, triggering alarm bells in Lila's mind. "Where are we?" the girl whispered, her voice barely a breath. The shadows felt alive. They swirled and shifted, dancing just out of reach. "In a place where stories are born," Lena said cryptically. "And where, if you're lucky, your fears transform into strength." She paused, her gaze penetrating. "But are you ready to take the first step?" The girl hesitated, fidgeting with the hem of her shirt. Lila felt tension coil around them like a serpent, tightening with each passing moment. She thought of other nights, a simpler life filled with laughter and dance under starlit skies. This was far different. Suddenly, Lena pointed to a doorway framed in flickering light. "That leads us to the dance," she said, her voice smooth like silk yet sharp as a blade. "Every dancer carries a burden. Every story weaves a thread through the darkness. Your choice will define what happens next." Without waiting for their response, she marched toward the entrance, and Lila felt her heart pulse with fear and excitement. The girl beside her breathed heavily, still clutching Lila's arm. "What if this is a mistake?" she murmured. "Or what if it's the breakthrough we've been looking for?" Lila shot back, her voice trembling but laced with determination. This was a chance for something different, something extraordinary. She tightened her grip around her partner's hand. "We came this far." They followed Lena, stepping through the door into a large room buzzing with energy. The air vibrated with thick beats, and the smells of sweat and anticipation. Bodies moved fluidly in the chaos, lost in their rapture. Lila's breath caught at the sight of them, a wild whirl of color and life. It was intoxicating. Lena turned back, eyes sparkling. "Welcome. Are we ready to embrace the dance?" Before Lila could respond, the lights flickered and the music swelled. It wrapped around them, pulling them into the pulsating core of the room. Without thinking, Lila was drawn into the rhythm, letting it guide her body. The girl hesitated, her eyes flitting nervously across the floor. "Just lose yourself," Lena urged, twirling with the ease of someone who danced with shadows and light. "Once you're in it, your fears will fall away." The music beat louder, a primal drum that seemed to resonate with Lila's heart. A surge of courage flooded her veins, intertwining with doubt, and before long, They were all drawn into the rhythm, bodies colliding like atoms in a supernova. But as they danced, an unshakable feeling settled in the pit of Lila's stomach. Something wasn't right. The eyes of the dancers felt empty, their smiles too wide, laughter masking an undercurrent of desperation. "Lila, I don't like this," the girl shouted over the music, pulling back. "We shouldn't be here, it feels wrong." But it was too late. Lila was swept deeper into the abyss of sound and fury, each beat siphoning away her apprehension. Suddenly, a figure lurked at the edge of her vision, eyes gleaming like coals in the dark. As the music changed, the air thickened, and she couldn't shake the feeling they were being watched. "Tonight is just a dance, but a dance has its secrets," Lena's voice echoed, a chilling reminder that some truths remained hidden. In that moment, Lila realized this was not an escape, it was a descent. Yet she couldn't stop, her instincts pulled her forward. But what awaited them at the edge of this dance? A new rhythm began, darker, more primal. And as the floor shifted beneath their feet, the thrill of the unknown intertwined with fear. What would it reveal? What price would they pay for the secrets concealed in the dance? Lila's heart pounded, a relentless thunder that resonated with the new, sinister rhythm filling the room. Bodies twisted and turned with an almost mechanical precision, their movements jerking and stuttering, as though a puppeteer had taken hold. Her breath caught. Was this what the dance had promised? "Lila, we have to go," the girl next to her cried out, panic painting her face in stark contrasts. "This isn't right." But Lila felt rooted to the floor, a bystander caught in a whirlpool of sound and sensation. Was she really ready to abandon this strange but electrifying experience? Lena swirled around them again, her eyes alight with something feral. "Don't you feel it?" Lena yelled, her voice almost lost to the turmoil. "This is freedom. Embrace it." The words dripped with a heady allure. Lila took a step back, glancing at her partner. Fear etched deep lines in her friend's forehead, but Lila was transfixed. The dancers around them began to merge into a pulsating collective, arms reaching toward the ceiling, mouths wide in silent screams. A shudder rippled down Lila's spine. Something unspeakable hung in the air, laced with desperation as palpable as the music itself. The floor quaked beneath her feet, and the room seemed to breathe like an unearthly beast. "Let us go!" Lila finally yelled, grasping the girl's arm tight, but as she turned to exit back to the door, the entryway vanished. Blinking hard, she searched for it, her heart racing with increasing dread. "Where is it?" she gasped, her voice barely piercing the shifting waves of sound. The realization struck her like a cruel trick. They had been ensnared. Panic rooted her to the spot as horror dawned on her. There was no escape. "Stay close," Lila urged, her grip tightening as she turned back towards Lena, who stood dangerously still in the haze of swirling bodies. Lena was now looking back at her, an unreadable smile stretching across her lips. And then, the rhythm shifted again. The beat thudded like a war drum, slow and deliberate, increasing in intensity. Shadows crept along the walls, elongated shapes reaching out as if searching for something or someone. "This is where you dance for your desires," Lena said, her voice slinking into the chaotic music. "You must first face what you fear most." "What do you mean?" Lila shot back, battling confusion and dread. The dancers around her seemed to shift, their forms merging. Their faces morphed into grotesque masks of fear and pain, mirroring the turmoil in Lila's heart. A flash of movement caught her eye. Above the crowd, a shimmering figure hovered, a dark silhouette against the bright lights. It swayed gently, arms raised, but its eyes glinted like shards of glass, cold and ancient. "What is that?" Lila breathed, the fear clawing at her throat. Lena simply grinned, "That's the keeper. It holds your fate." "Fate? What fate?" The girl tugged Lila, tugged her towards the pulsating hope of the doorway now lost to them. But it felt even further away, like a cruel mirage. Then, as if in answer, the music crescendoed, transforming into a single, deafening note. It pierced through Lila, rattling her core. Everything stilled. The frenzied dancers froze, their eyes now a dual reflection of pain and echoing laughter. "It's time to choose," the keeper's voice cut through the chaos, resonating deep within Lila. "What will you give to dance?" The crowd began to chant, a heartbeat of desperation. "Dance for us. Dance for your heart's desire." Lila's thoughts spiraled. She could feel her dreams clawing at her, shadows ready to consume her. If she danced for her fears, would she lose herself forever? But as she glanced at her friend, panic etched deep, a lone thread of hope flickered within Lila. Could they wrestle something back from this darkness? Would they fight, or would they let the dance take them? With the weight of the choice looming, Lila took a deep breath, heart racing, her feet shifting in anticipation. What would she be ready to sacrifice for freedom? And could they confront their demons before the keeper's cold grasp consumed them both? Lila's heart raced, and the pulsating rhythm of fear intertwined with determination deep within her. It was a chaotic dance of emotions, as she realized the stakes had never been higher. The keeper's voice hung heavy in the air, reverberating with the essence of all they had come to claim. "What will you give to dance?" It echoed again, a challenge that resonated like a thunderclap. Lila felt the cold grip of uncertainty, but glancing at her partner, she found a flicker of courage mirrored in those wide eyes. They stood together, anchored by the shared realization of what they might be able to achieve, even against such dark odds. "Whatever it takes," Lila breathed, her voice steadying despite the overwhelming dread. With a leap fueled by newfound resolve, she stepped into the illuminating spotlight. The world dimmed around her, as she filled her lungs with air, letting the music flood every part of her soul. Fear clawed at the edges, whispering that she might fail, but she thrust those thoughts aside. This was no longer simply about her. It was about defying the darkness in both of them. As Lila began to dance, she poured every ounce of her struggle, every moment of doubt, into the movements. Each spin, every leap felt like a battle cry. "I want to let fear own me," she screamed silently, letting the rhythm guide her as the echoes of the past stirred within a montage of hard-won moments, late-night practices, and her mother's proud encouragement. The energy of the dance shifted. The keeper's gaze sharpened, intrigued by Lila's bravery, as she broke through the shadows of doubt. The crowd began to swirl in unison with her, feeding off her fervor, and the grotesque faces morphed back into something familiar. A spark of humanity glimmered through. "Simon!" Lila called to her partner, beckoning her to join in. "We can do this together." And at that moment, drawing courage from Lila's conviction, the girl joined her, their movements intertwining as they became a single entity, pushing through the layers of fear to illuminate hope. The music swelled, the beat resonating louder around them, as the darkness began to recede. It wasn't just a dance. It became a collective journey of liberation. "Dance for us. Dance for your heart's desire." The restless crowd chanted, not with malice, but as a mantra that began to unify their energies. Lila felt the fear transform into a warm embrace, vibrant and unstoppable. They were feeding off each other as strength now, a duet forged in the fires of chaos, their hearts entwined with purpose. The keeper's presence looming, as though it were waiting for an opening, but it was no match for the fervor that surged from them. Finally, Lila met the keeper's gaze, her heart decisive and unwavering. "What we have gained is greater than what we would ever have to lose." With that final declaration, they soared with one last crescendo, letting the music dictate movement, their resilience echoing with every heartbeat. Suddenly, the room darkened, a heavy shadow trying to claw back as the keeper fought back, but a brilliant light erupted from the very core of their souls, pushing it back with unrelenting force. The shadow was scorched away, consumed by the brightness of hope and unity forged in dance. As the music shifted to a triumphant climax, Lila felt the weight of something lifting, the air sweetening as clarity returned to the space around them. The figures began to dissipate, their forms no longer grotesque masks but real dancers, returning to their true forms. The crowd erupted in roaring applause, a vibrant tide washing over them, drowning out any remnants of fear. Lila and her partner, breathless and wide-eyed, stood at center stage, hearts racing, surrounded by a wave of energy unlike anything they had ever known. Then it clicked: the cost was not the sacrifices they had feared. No, the cost was in their willingness to embrace connection, to dance not just for themselves, but for each other. Lena stepped forth, eyes bright with pride rather than manipulative intrigue. You've embraced the shadows and turned them into light. Remember this strength. It will follow you throughout your journey. Lila grinned at her partner, clasping her hand. We did it! Together, they exchanged knowing smiles, feeling the power of their shared resilience. The path ahead was theirs to navigate, a landscape painted with the hues of dreams. Against all odds. As they exited the theater into the freshness of the night air, dawn began to break on the horizon like a sweet promise. Lila's heart swelled with the possibilities unfolding before her. A fire ignited within her spirit, illuminating her journey ahead. This was not the end of her story, it was just the beginning. They had stepped into the unknown and fought side by side, in a dance that revealed their true selves. As they walked into the sunlight, Lila felt alive, unbounded, ready to embrace whatever came next. For she had learned that sometimes it takes a leap into the shadows to truly realize your light. Now, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now. It seriously helps me out with the algorithm. And don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. I'm dying to know what you think. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Real fans understand the importance of supporting this channel through these actions, and I can't wait to continue this journey with you all.